On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Central European University, and as Provost and Academic Rector of the University, it is my privilege to convene the opening ceremony of Central European University's 22nd academic year. In addition to our students, faculty, and staff, we are honored by the presence of many distinguished guests today. We are especially pleased to welcome ambassadors from several of our students' home countries, as well as representatives of other universities. I'd like to extend a special welcome to Professor Kathleen Kés, member of the Board of Hungarian Accreditation Committee, who is representing the committee for a special presentation. And welcome also to Dr. Eleanor Denny, Assistant Professor of Economics at Trinity College Dublin, recipient of the first European Award for Excellence in Teaching in the Social Sciences and Humanities. No tribute to the exceptional history and success of CEU could be complete without mentioning its founder, George Soros, whose far-reaching vision and continuing support have been critical in forming this unique institution, and whom we have the special honor of having here today. I would like to formally recognize and thank the wonderful faculty and staff of Central European University who share the responsibility for the extraordinary accomplishments that CEU has achieved over these past 21 years. The university could not have made such steady progress without the tremendous contribution of both its master's and doctoral students.
It's a very important moment in the life of our university every year, but this year is a very special one because, as you've heard, we are especially honored to have the presence of our founder, George Soros, who will speak to us in a moment, who I'm pleased to say will be returning to CEU later this fall as a distinguished lecturer in social sciences and philosophy. But most importantly, even more importantly than welcoming George Soros, I want to welcome all of our new students. There are 629 of you. Some of you, of course, are busy finding your way around Budapest today. And you've been chosen from nearly 7,000 applicants, which is almost 1,000 more than applied to CEU last year, which makes you the most selective class that CEU has ever had. More than 11 applicants for every position, and that makes CEU one of the most selective graduate universities in the world. So you are in a very special place. You come from 82 nations, from Albania to Zimbabwe, and you're joining a community that has students, faculty, and staff from over 100 countries and attracts applications from an incredible 149 countries. Let me take a few moments to reflect on the university that brings us together. CEU, as you know, was born out of an idea and a promise. The idea was that a place where people can speak openly and inquire deeply and take intellectual risks can be an open society university. The promise was when the walls came down in Central Europe, people would be free to teach and study and learn whatever they wanted. The founders of CEU, led by George Soros, had a vision of a new kind of university that would draw scholars from all over the region and eventually all over the world. Today, we are that university, and you are the scholars. And my goal and role as rector is to make CEU greater than the sum of its parts. So I encourage you, particularly you new students, to look beyond your department or your school and find things at the university that interest you outside of those areas in addition to in those areas, and seek out students and faculty and ask them questions about what they're studying or teaching. This is the way new initiatives get started at CEU. Let me close by giving you some exciting news that I think illustrates the academic excellence of our university and the value of our mission. 3 of our departments, political science, philosophy, and sociology, were recognized this year as among the best in the world. CEU faculty in many fields have received international awards this year, including the Jean Nicot Prize in the Philosophy of Mind, awarded jointly to 2 professors in the Cognitive Science Department, the Sellizer Award of the American Sociological Association, received by the director of CEU's Network Science Center, the Regnorum Prize in Human Rights, awarded to a member of the Legal Studies faculty, the Case Award of the International Academy of Management to a member of the CEU Business School faculty, a Jean Monnet Chair awarded to a CEU Professor of International Relations, and the Commander's Cross Order of the Merit of Hungary, received by a CEU Professor of Political Economy. These are all our colleagues and members of our faculty, and we're very proud of them. In fact, I'm now going to ask you to give them a round of applause. Finally, let me recognize the achievements of our alumni, whose ranks you will be joining sooner than you realize. Over the past 3 years, I've met with CEU graduates in 20 countries across the world, and I can tell you they represent the excellence of the university and its commitment to open society. We're a young institution, so very few of our 12,000 alumni are even over the age of 50. But already, many of them are changing the world as parliamentarians, as professors, entrepreneurs, ambassadors, ministers, leaders of international institutions, founders of civil society organizations, defending human rights, protecting the environment, managing businesses, helping refugees, creating new ways of doing things, and working to build their own open societies. So your studies here will teach you about realities, and they'll teach you about ideals. But you will have to learn for yourself how to bridge the gap between them. One of the leaders who helped George Soros found CEU spoke about connecting ideals with realities. Václav Havel. Havel once said, "I am not an optimist because all does not end well. I'm not a pessimist because all does not end badly. I'm a realist who carries an ideal. And the ideal is that freedom has meaning and is worth the struggle." So it now gives me enormous pleasure to introduce CEU's founding father, the man who had the vision, the ideal to create this university, and is now watching it become a reality. George Soros clearly needs no further introduction, so please join me in welcoming here today.
Well, this is the 21st year, commencement of the 21st year of the university. But it's actually the first year when I'm actually attending the commencement. It's actually very good to hear in the introduction the progress that the university continues to make. I usually attend the ending and the handing out of the diplomas, and I don't think that I've actually missed any one of those occasions. But this year is a different year because I'm actually returning to the CEU myself, and I'm going to join the incoming group as a student. Because I want to use this occasion to develop my philosophy, which has been guiding me in my career and which I hope perhaps can be developed into a kind of a foundational course for the university in the philosophy of social science. And I've asked a few experts to join me in some workshops that we are going to hold. I think two of them, one will be with Alan Ryan and the other with Alex Rosenberg. Both of whom are outstanding scholars dealing with the philosophy of social science. And they will hold public lectures when they are here, to which you will be invited, and I hope you will attend. I also want to spend my time with the School of Public Policy, which is now really coming to life and which will be more closely connected with my foundation network than the school itself, than the university itself, because the university is entirely independent, and actually although I have funded it and founded it, I have pretty meticulously abstained from inflicting my philosophy on the school. But I think when it's 21 years old, the university is mature enough to withstand now this attempt by me to introduce my ideas about the difference between the social sciences and a model of natural science, but let's say that particularly has been so successful in physics. And I think that there is a quite fundamental difference between in the subject matter, which requires also different standards and different approaches to studying the issue when it comes to social phenomena. The events of the last few years, the financial crisis of 2007, 2008, and now the continuing euro crisis, which is actually a direct consequence of that financial crisis, are, let's say, evidence that there is something fundamentally flawed in that approach. And in addition to founding the CEU, I have also established an organization more recently called the Institute for New Economic Thinking, or INET. You may or may not have heard of it. That has recognized this shortcoming of economic theory and is now exploring alternatives. And I have myself developed a conceptual framework based on the twin pillars of fallibility and reflexivity, which seeks to provide better insight to the problems that is dealing. It's generally, actually, my conceptual framework happens to be common sense, and that's difficult sometimes for scientists to accept. It has implications for the study of social sciences, and that is slightly beyond my education, and so I need to be educated a little more by specialists in those fields. So I look forward to joining you and welcoming you to the CEU. I hope you will have a unique and constructive experience here and contribute to the development of the university as a a rather unique institution. So, with my best wishes for you, and I hope that I'll also have occasion to meet with you in the course of the coming years. Thank you.
I come from the Netherlands, yet I did not study in Amsterdam or Utrecht or even Leiden. I studied in Middelburg, which is arguably one of the smallest cities in the Netherlands, at a university that is definitely the smallest university in the country, a university with only 600 students. I was quite worried by the idea of moving to the big city and going to a large university. But what seemed frightening at first turned out to be far more familiar than I had expected. The day-to-day life of a CEU student is similar for a student in Middelburg. Coming from a BA in anthropology and religious studies, I was not quite sure what I wanted to do for my MA. I was certain that I did not want to continue studying merely anthropology. I was more interested in studying a topic rather than a discipline. This is the reason for me ending up here in the Nationalism Studies program. To my knowledge, it's quite a unique program in the entire Europe, studying the topic from the field of anthropology, but also sociology, political science, and legal studies. So far, it has been a good and at times bumpy ride, yet evidently I am still standing. I believe you too will still be standing at the end of this academic year, thanks especially to your friends, colleagues, and professors, who will hopefully make your time here as memorable as they made mine. Thank you.
I was asked to say a few words about why I chose Central European University to continue my education in international relations. And I should say that this was a fairly easy choice. I was born in a country which no longer exists. The city I come from was renamed 3 times over the last 100 years. And I'm afraid in this community, I'm very far from being exceptional. Presently, the pace of historical process is coming to its maximal limit, and almost all of us experienced at least once in our lifetimes a drastic change of predominant political orientation and organization of local and global communities. Almost all of us, in one or another way, learned to speak different languages. And in this case, by language, I do not mean your mother tongue or any other foreign language you have studied. Rather, I mean the language which shapes and influences one's beliefs, ideas, and values. I, too, had to witness historical twists and turns, and to tell you the truth, I was lost and tired. But also, I was provoked, I was hopeful, and hungry for the truth. Therefore, when I heard and read about CEU, I thought that it was most similar to what Karl Jaspers referred to as the university. I thought it was more than just a higher education institution. I believed it was a large supranational formation, a community of thinking beings, which was not bound to the state, a community that tried to speak the language of truth, still subjective, yet conscious, rather than the language of a nation or an ideology. When I came to CEU to do my master's 3 years ago, I discovered that everything I thought of it was true. But there was more to it. I also found it was tough to the limit, hardly bearable at times, and intellectually exhausting. This year, I'm starting my 2nd stage of engagement with CEU as a doctoral student. I'm worried because I know it's a great challenge, yet I'm very, very happy. Because here, today, yet again, I can feel this very special air, which Karl Jaspers also mentioned when he talked about his alma mater. The air that makes one want to breathe, to learn, to speak out, to acquire freedom in its most authentic sense. And I hope all of you can feel it also. So thank you very much.
Dear students, as you are preparing to start your first classes at CEU, you may still be asking yourselves, what kind of place is this exactly? What should we expect? I'm sure you know a lot already, And you have just heard from President John Shattuck and from our benefactor George Soros, as well from the two colleagues who spoke before me, about the history of CEU, its distinguishing characteristics, ambitions, the plans for the next several years, and about the life on our campus. Let me add a few words to that as a member of the faculty. CEU's institutional identity is a unique combination of intellectual, academic, and legal traditions, primarily from the US, Hungary, Central Europe, and the larger Europe. At the same time, as mentioned by Rector, CEU is a truly international university, indeed a tapestry of the world. Our students, you, bring the world to Budapest, and in some way they take Budapest to the world when they graduate and pursue professional careers in practically all countries of the planet by now. Perhaps the most distinguishing element of CEU is its twofold mission, which combines academic excellence, including high-level research, with an explicit, strong, and particular type of civic commitment as reflected in the principle of open society. In short, this is a very special place, and I'm sure you know that already. You are joining a university community which is proud of being different in more than one way, one that promotes diversity, innovation, and experimentation, and also risk-taking. While being different, however, CEU is first of all, and like any other university, a place of learning. There are many characteristics that define CEU as a place of learning, and perhaps a few of them are rather special. CEU is a great place for learning because we are fortunate to be able to recruit high-quality students and faculty from around the world. You will learn a lot at CEU from each other and, not surprisingly, from and with your professors. At present, CEU has a permanent faculty of about 200, with another 200 coming as visitors for shorter or longer periods. They come from about 40 countries, going all the way from Southern Australia to North America, which is remarkable for any university. CEU is at the same time striving to ensure an institutional environment that supports effective learning. We have an excellent student-professor ratio, just below 8:1. We use the graduate seminar model. We try to build a non-hierarchical environment in which faculty and students can interact as equal members of a university intellectual community, and in which nobody has a monopoly on truth. And I could go on with this list. Sometimes we learn about student experience in surprising ways. And because this is a risk-taking university, I am going to take the risk and read you fragments from a personal letter sent by a former CEU student not a long time ago. Dear Professor, I wanted to write you much earlier, but I kept postponing it because I was looking for the right time to write you. The right time meant the time when I would sit without having any distracting ideas and calmly put on paper what I believe you should know. I got worried when I read this. First of all, I want to thank you for your support, for your kind words, for your patience and professionalism. I have to admit your course was one of the most difficult for me, even more difficult than microeconomics or statistics. It was difficult, demanding, and it required a lot of energy. After a few classes, I realized that higher education is not what I was thinking it was. All of a sudden, many fields were melting together: policy, politics, economy, technology, financing, teaching, management, governance. Sometimes I thought it was just too much. Now I know why statistics was not so difficult, because it was only about statistics. Whoever would ask me about your course, I would answer that it was tough and demanding, but on the other hand, it was a great experience, inspiring and enjoyable learning. I do appreciate your help with the sources you have provided me and the supportive words I got from you at consultations. I know I may sound exaggerating, but in my eyes, what I'm writing now is just a fair feedback I believe you should know. This is the end of the letter. I read just a few fragments. And of course, this is a personal letter and one that I personally cherish immensely. If I read it here aloud, it's because I believe it could have been sent to any of my colleagues on the faculty, even those who teach statistics, and it speaks better than I could do about what it means to be a student at CEU, about the student-professor relationship at CEU. I wish you all have a great learning experience at CEU, have fun, and if you will find that your time here was well spent, consider sending your professors a message, be it the length of a tweet, when you'll be away from CEU, out in the world in the years to come. You can be sure it will mean a lot to them. Thank you.
So we thought this year at our opening ceremony, we would inaugurate a celebration of teaching. And we would do so in the context of the 20th anniversary that the university itself celebrated a year ago, with an initiative that we have undertaken as a result of our 20th anniversary, and that was to create the first, as far as we can tell, European Award for Excellence in Teaching in the Social Sciences and Humanities, and to really highlight this aspect of a university. The aim of the award is really to contribute to the promotion of teaching excellence in higher education here at the university, where we feel that we have really celebrate this in our classroom all the time, but we now have a new center for teaching and learning, which is institutionalizing that process, and across Europe by providing an opportunity to recognize unsung heroines and heroes in the faculty world in Europe who are involved in day-to-day excitement of their own students by teaching in very innovative ways. The award and the prize that we are inaugurating here is made possible by funding from an anonymous donor, so we're very grateful to that donor who wishes to remain anonymous. And let me speak just for a moment about the selection process and then tell you what, of course, you're most interested in hearing about the winner of the award. The selection committee was made up of prominent leaders and experts in higher education associated with CEU, chaired by Professor Patricia Graham, who is the former dean of the Harvard Graduate School of Education and a member of our board of trustees. Ligia Deca, who is here with us today, who is the outgoing director of the Bologna Follow-Up Secretariat, Professor Jacques Frémont, the former provost and vice rector of academic affairs at the University of Montreal, and Professor Marvin Lazarson, who is a CEU professor of education and a professor emeritus of the University of Pennsylvania. So it's a very serious and important committee, all of which, all members of which are committed to this concept of the excitement in the classroom that we want to celebrate. There were 25 nominations that came from 10 countries across the European higher education area, and I'm very pleased to announce that the inaugural winner is Dr. Eleanor Denny, who is an assistant professor of economics at Trinity College, Dublin. And before introducing her and asking her to come forward, let me just say a few words about Professor Denny. She and I met in my office just before we came over here, and she told me, I asked her, what kind of innovative methods are you using in your class? She's a professor of economics as well as other subjects. And she told me something rather remarkable, which I challenge any of our professors here to do, which is she invited her introductory economics class to rewrite the textbook with her. Basically to say, let's sit down and take this textbook apart and see how we might make it better. Now, anyone who's, and this is with all due respect to my colleagues from economics, who's taken an introductory economics course, knows that it's often hard to get that subject to come to life in the very first year. It comes to life afterwards. So that's one of the hallmarks of her remarkable teaching style. I'll quote from the nomination letter. Dr. Denny is a young scholar who has achieved remarkable success in terms of academic publications and research grants. Her research links economics and engineering and is genuinely interdisciplinary. This alone makes her unusual. What is probably not so clear from her CV is that she is an outstanding teacher. Notoriously, many in academia regard teaching as a distraction from research or believe teaching and research to be mutually exclusive. Dr. Denny is an inspiring example of a very different model of university lecturer, combining excellence and innovation in both teaching and research. She is well known at Trinity College in Dublin for her interactive classroom activities and her commitment to sharing successful teaching methods. In September 2010, she took on the role of Director of Undergraduate Teaching and Learning in the School of Social Sciences and Philosophy. She receives very high praise from her colleagues, and I'll just quote one of them, Professor James Wickham, who is the head of Trinity's School of Social Sciences and Philosophy, who says, "She not only ensures that colleagues change their teaching, she leads us to want to change. Indeed, thanks to her, we learn to learn," which I think is a perfect praise for the person who is receiving the inaugural European Higher Education Award for Teaching and Excellence from Central European University. Dr. Denny, please come forward.
So I sat down last week to try to put together a few words which would adequately convey what this award means to me. How humbled I am to have been chosen as the inaugural recipient, how honoured I am to stand here in front of you all today, and how thankful I am to the Central European University for this amazing opportunity. However, every time I sat down to try and write something down, all I kept coming back to was, wow, and thank you so much. So in an effort to say something more, I resorted to what I warn all my undergraduate students against doing. I went to Wikipedia. On Wikipedia, I searched how to write an acceptance speech, which, if any of you ever has the opportunity of accepting an Oscar, is the place to go. But eventually, I came across some good advice, which was to be personal, to be honest, and to tell a story. So that's what I'm going to do. I didn't always want to be a university lecturer. In fact, when I was younger, I had great plans to become a zookeeper or a medical doctor or even a TV detective. But I think the fact that I had two teachers as parents always meant that education played a very strong role in our household life. And I noticed pretty early on that my peers felt comfortable asking me to help them with their course material, and I really felt a sense of reward when I helped them understand it better. I am now very passionate about teaching and learning, and I find it incredibly rewarding when I see my students grasp complex theories and form their own opinions. I find that the more involved the students get, the more involved I get, and ultimately the more rewarding the teaching role becomes. In fact, sometimes I am so surprised by how involved my students get. I teach one particular course on Introduction to Economic Policy, and as was mentioned previously, I asked the students to recreate the chapters in the textbook in a new and novel way. So the students have submitted video clips, case studies, posters, but perhaps one of the most memorable students was somebody who approached me and wanted to demonstrate the theory of perfect competition through the medium of modern dance. So, it just demonstrates the enthusiasm of the students, and it's this enthusiasm for learning, it's what we as educators should be encouraging within our students. And much of this enthusiasm has to come from the teacher themselves. However, with such a focus in the modern university on research, sometimes this enthusiasm can wane. However, anyone who attended the roundtable discussion earlier today, hosted by the Centre for Teaching and Learning here at CEU, cannot doubt the enthusiasm of the faculty here at CEU. The seminar highlighted the unwavering commitment of CEU to excellence in teaching and the clear dedication of the staff here. With that in mind, I'd like to express a huge thank you to Sally Schwager, Julia Owinski and Colleen Sharkey all the organisers of this event for their hard work in the coordination of the award and for planning this trip for me. It has been an unbelievable opportunity and I am incredibly thankful. I also owe a huge debt of thanks to my own students who participate so enthusiastically in my often crazy teaching methods. Also to my colleagues at Trinity College Dublin, in particular the inspirational James Wickham who nominated me for this award. And of course I'd like to thank my family and friends who are the sounding board for a lot of my ideas and the guinea pigs for the different things I try, and special thanks to my husband Owen and my son Nicholas who have travelled here to be with me today. Finally, the Central European University cannot be praised enough for their fantastic efforts at highlighting the importance of good teaching and for acknowledging the dedication that teaching involves. In fact, the CEU, through this award, is pioneering a reform of how academics and the general public view teaching at university level and is leading this excellence by example. As the only European-level award to recognise the value of teaching, the CEU clearly stands head and shoulders above the rest in terms of dedication and promotion of excellence in teaching at third level. Thus, I would like to finish up by saying a huge thank you to the CEU for the creation of this award and how I am so incredibly humbled by the honour of being the first recipient. And now I think I can resort to what I've been wanting to say all along. Wow, and thank you so, so much.
So it is an honor for me to present the certificate of the Hungarian Accreditation Committee to Central European University. It acknowledges the outstanding quality of education and research carried out here. It acknowledges the outstanding achievements, the excellence of the faculty. It acknowledges the excellence of your educational programs, of your curricula, and the outstanding quality of the infrastructure of the university. Congratulations, and I wish you all the best for the next 21 years.
We come now to the end of CEU's 22nd opening ceremony. On behalf of the university's governance and faculty, I wish all of you an enjoyable and very successful academic year.